I think Manchester United need a brand new left back this summer. Luke Shaw has been good, he's been consistent this campaign and actually available for every single Premier League game, but I just don't trust him over the course of a deeper season. I don't trust him to play every 3 days. And then we've got Patrick Dorgu, who is a bright young footballer full of potential, but I don't think any of us are convinced that he is a fullback. United actually seem to think that he is a winger. Now, it also seems as though United themselves want a new left back. Fabrizio Romano suggesting that a left back may be on the agenda this summer, and for me, Lewis Hall just stands out amongst the crowd. So we're getting straight into this today because there is a lot to talk about with Hall and there is a lot to like. The only concern is injuries. Let's get that out of the way straight away. There is an injury concern with Lewis Hall, but if we remove that for a moment and talk about what he does when he plays, he's phenomenal. I think he is the best left back in the Premier League at this moment in time. I hesitated just because I was trying to think of other players. I think Lewis Hall is the best. And for me, where he really stands out is his ability to play across every single phase in possession. In the first phase, starting off with press resistance, Lewis Hall is fantastic at playing the ball up from the back. Very calm, very composed, and I think the reason why he is so composed is because he's got so much trust in his technical ability. He knows he's good on the ball, so doesn't get flustered. The opposition can squeeze in man to man, they can put him under pressure, but he remains calm because he knows he can get out of that situation. And something that he does really well is change direction at speed. He's super agile. So when the opposition do come in to press him, he can evade them, sort of shaping left and then moving the ball right. And that's something that he does very well. He sort of baits the opposition. He'll often draw them in, almost acting like he's going to play down the left-hand side. The opposition nibble that way, and then that's when Hall will reverse it and come inside the pitch. He offers so many solutions here. He can carry and dribble like that, but also he can pass as well. And I think that's so important for a fullback, to find passing solutions. You can't always dribble past a man, so you need to find that ball in here, or you need to get that ball down the line. And I think Hall can do that. In the first phase, he's not the Sandro Martinez level, but I tell you what, alongside him, that would be immense. Now, as I said there, one of the reasons why I think Hall would be so good in the first phase is because of his passing, because he can find different solutions, and that's also important further up the pitch. I reckon if you were to go up to Lewis Hall and steal his golf bag, you'd see every club in that bag. He can pull off every single different type of pass, and that's what you need. You don't want a one-trick pony. What you need in football at the highest level is players that can problem solve by themselves. And really, to be able to problem solve to a high level, you need different options. You need different things that you can turn to make yourself more unpredictable. And in the case of Hall, he has that. He has every pass available to him. He is more than capable of that big ball over the top. Little bit of space, open the ball up, a little bit like Luke Shaw used to do, and lift that ball over the top for an on-rushing striker. He can do that. He can also, however, invert a little bit more central into midfield and play the short game. He can punch the ball through the lines. He's a really good progressive passer and can use the outside of his left boot as well. But then importantly, he can go wide again. He can go and play like a proper fullback. He can hook that ball into a channel, which I think is a useful ball. Perhaps not so much for Cunha, but if we were to sign a new left winger or play Dorgu here, hooking the ball into the channel for someone to run onto is super dangerous. And then the other pass that he loves is that one between the centre-back and the fullback. It's almost like, as a fullback himself, he knows what fullbacks hate, and it is that runner from the blind side into that space, and Hall is so good at playing wide and then getting that ball back in central into that space. And if Manchester United are to sign new forwards this summer, runners off the ball, we've got Benjamin Sesko and Bumo in the front line, Hall is such a good player to try and find them. He can come inside, he can combine with our technical midfielders, or he can be direct but accurate. He can get that ball quickly to our forward players who can then sort of cause destruction. Now, for me personally, the thing that really makes Hall stand out amongst every other left back on the market this summer is his versatility and adaptability. Lewis Hall is one of those players who can play every single role, and that makes him so useful as a teammate, but also as a tool for a manager. Having a player that can play in any system, in any role, makes him so versatile, and tactically you can chop and change on a game-to-game basis. But I think what makes Hall really good is his ability to play in 3 versus 3s out wide, and these are important. We talk about football as this big 11 versus 11 game. We talk about the system of teams, 4-4-2 turned into 3-1-6 versus a 4-3-3 turned into a 3-2-5. But actually, so often, it comes down to something a little bit smaller. It's the smaller games on the pitch. When the ball comes to a left-hand side, it's about your left back, your left-sided central midfielder, and your left winger against their right winger, their right central midfielder, and their right back. The rest of the pitch doesn't matter so much now. It's about this 3 versus 3 over here. And this is where I think Hall can be so useful. Reason number 1 is because of the versatility and the ability to rotate and adapt. If you want this triangle to sort of rotate, Hall can do it. He can play as the left back over here, but he can also invert into midfield. Let's say Cobby dropped wider, Hall can go and play in that position. Or he can go and play the wide one. And you might see something more like this, where Cunha comes inside, Cobby comes deeper, and Hall goes wide. He can do all 3 jobs in that triangle, which is really important. Something that our current left backs don't really offer. That's where Hall takes us to the next level. Then you've got his dribbling that we saw in his first phase, but also the carrying work. He's got a real engine, and he's great at being the 3rd man runner. So let's say Cobby has the ball, he moves the ball wide to Cunha, then Hall underlaps into that space, and you can see the way that that triangle now moves. He's so good at making that run, that penetrating run off the ball. But if you want him to, he can play deeper. He can be the one over here who has the passing game to find a Cunha out wide who can now isolate a defender. And I just think this ability to have that fluidity on the ball, to move off of each other and constantly combine, and this triangle is constantly moving with these players going into different zones of the pitch. And that is Hall all over. He just combines so well. It's timing of release, it's the technical quality that we spoke about at the start, the composure, the trust in his own ability, then the ability to find solutions. He can beat a man. Someone might square him up 1 versus 1, but he can beat them. He'll dribble past them. Or if he can't dribble past them, he's got that pass inside. He's got that ball into the channel. He's got that ball in between defenders. I just think he gives you so many different solutions. And if you combine that with Mainu, who gives us a lot of solutions, with his passing, but also his dribbling game, and then you imagine you get a new left winger who can go outside and dribble 1 versus 1 or come inside, I just think you get a left side, which becomes so difficult to predict and anticipate. I think they've got so many different sides to their game on the ball, and it's because of Lewis Hall. He's sort of the base, being the defender. He's sort of the base, the starting point for that fluid, technical, entertaining, but effective left wing. Now, my only question about Hall on the ball is his final product, and the only reason why I have that question is because his numbers this season aren't that impressive. He hasn't done particularly well, although last season he did get himself 5 assists, and I do think he's a dangerous player in the final third. Again, one of the reasons is because of the engine. He can arrive on the overlap. So let's say Cunha picks the ball up, drives at a defender, the fullback comes narrow, Hall overlaps, he's got the engine to get into that position. Or, as we've discussed already, Cunha might be wider, peel a defender out, and then Hall goes into the space. So first of all, he's got the engine, which Luke Shaw probably no longer possesses. Certainly not over 90 minutes, to consistently, repeatedly make this run. Hall can do it. He can attack the space. And then I think once he's in the final third, I think his delivery is good. Again, we've seen sort of his passing game already. That just continues in the final third for me. Especially that sort of low, perhaps just off the ground, whipped pass. And I'll call it a pass because it's very intentional. Whipped pass across the box. I think he does it really well. And if we could sort of unleash him, create the space, unleash him into a space, and then free that ball into the box, I think the likes of Sesko, Bruno, and Bumo attacking it would be really good. So Hall's numbers may not be amazing right now, but I still think he is good at delivering into the final third. And this is why I want him, because we've now gradually worked our way up the pitch and seen that he can produce everywhere. Right, we've seen first phase press resistance and solutions. Then we've seen in the middle third the ability to pass the ball forward, but also to combine with teammates in those 3 versus 3s, attack and progress the ball. And then in the final third, yes, the raw data perhaps doesn't support it, but watching him, the eye test, against Barcelona in the Champions League, he was probably Newcastle's most threatening player. He made so many runs in behind, and I think it's a lot quicker than what you probably initially think, certainly quicker than what I used to think. He arrives into that space so well, but then he's got that moment to slow himself down and pick out that good final action. And he's a fullback at the end of the day. He's not going to have the productivity of an Mbumo, of a Cunha, of an Ahmad. But I do think over the course of the season, if you can get 4 or 5 assists from him, maybe 1 or 2 goals, that's really good output from a fullback. So, yeah, I think Lewis Hall ticks every single box on the ball. I can't think of one thing in possession which we need that he can't provide. And to be honest, it is as simple as that. Why do I want Lewis Hall? Well, because I think he can give us everything in possession that we need. Now, of course, today we haven't gone into details, because I think this is the first video I've done on Hall, although I can't remember. We do so many videos. So today is a bit more of a brief overview of his profile. What we will do another day, if we see more transfer rumours, more concrete links, is we'll go into the details. We'll talk about why and how he's press resistant rather than just the fact that he is. Today is sort of a checklist of the things that he's good at, and in possession, that's everything. First phase, dribbling and passing, finding solutions under pressure. In the middle third, progressing the ball, particularly with passing, but also carrying and dribbling through the pitch and combining with his teammates in different positions. Then as we got towards the final third, it's that engine to burst in towards the box, and then the delivery, which I think can get better but is already good. That's everything that you want on the ball from a fullback, and that is why I want Lewis Hall. Like I said though, if you want a more detailed, in-depth video, a longer video, looking at the finer points, do let me know in the comments down below. But apart from that, for today, we are now finished. So thank you very much for watching this one. I hope you have enjoyed it, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.